Warning. Dangerously strong winds cause damage and force immediate closures across Windsor, Essex. A fire investigation is underway after a fatal Christmas Eve blaze in Lakeshore. And the 2026 budget tabled.
I think it's fair to say there are many people in this community who are feeling the affordability crunch right now.
The city of Windsor holding the line on taxes.
CTV News with Stefanie Masotti.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us both on CTV Windsor and AM 800. Wind warnings blanket much of southwestern Ontario with damage from gusts exceeding 80 to 100 kilometers per hour this morning and throughout the afternoon. It's the product of an intense storm that also has brought 1 to 2 centimeters of snow and whiteout conditions. Take a look at some of the damage in the city. Power lines down at Tecumseh Road East and Southfield Drive. And here in the 1000 block of Homedale Drive, a tree removed after it toppled onto a car. A reminder to the public that high winds can create unsafe conditions. The city of Windsor says due to high winds, a number of closures are currently in place. Bright lights in Jackson Park will not open to the public this evening. The City Hall Square skating rink is also closed. Lansbury outdoor rink rentals are being relocated to 80 Knox Herman Arena for today. And although the winds are likely to weaken late tonight, Tuesday it's still forecast to be windy and cold, with temperatures taking a nosedive since a warmer than average Christmas through Boxing Day and this past weekend. With more on these conditions, let's head straight to CTV meteorologist Gary Archibald. Gary, dangerous out there.
You're right about that. Good evening, Stefanie. Good evening, folks. So strong. Northwesterly sustained this morning, close to 60 km at one point. Not for very long, but gusts were over 80, and that was at the airport in Windsor, all due to this massive spin of low pressure. As I step out, you get a sense of the counterclockwise circulation of low pressure. It has pushed rain to the Atlantic coast. Along that track, wintry weather, mix of snow and freezing rain. We went from a very soggy Christmas, especially Boxing Day and the weekend, where temperatures soared to 14 degrees Celsius this morning. In fact, it was still 14 just after midnight. We're down to about -2 through the afternoon. The wind chill values in the minus teens through the afternoon, now evening. The snow squall effect continues, and it looks like 1 to 3 centimeters is still possible between now and 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's still windy, as Stefanie mentioned correctly, and it will be for tomorrow. I'll break down what you need to know as we look ahead to January. That's coming up.
Okay, in other news, OPP have confirmed one person is dead after a house fire in Lakeshore on Christmas Eve. The fire broke out shortly after midnight on December 24th on South Talbot Road. Essex County OPP were called to assist at the scene. The office of the fire marshal and the coroner later attended the scene to complete their investigation. No other details have been released at this time. Meantime, the Windsor Police Major Crimes Unit continues to investigate after a woman was found trapped beneath the tire of a vehicle at a city park. Police were called to a parking lot at Remington Booster Park shortly after 4 Sunday morning. Emergency crews found the woman pinned beneath a tire of a white Chevrolet Equinox and worked to free her from under the vehicle. She was given life-saving care at the scene before being taken to hospital, where police say on Sunday that she was in critical condition with life-threatening injuries. Police say the driver showed signs of impairment and was arrested. The 28-year-old driver, Loya Lako, later failed a breath test and now faces impaired driving charges causing bodily harm. Anyone with information is asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers anonymously. And speaking of Crime Stoppers, are Melanie Kentner and Crime Stoppers coordinator Constable Rick Surrett tonight going over some of the statistics and other highlights from the past year tonight. Good evening.
Yeah, it's been an eventful year. Rick, what are some of the notable statistics from 2025?
Well, in this year, we received over 1,700 tips. That's 220 more tips than we received last year. Of the tips received, police seized over 6 weapons, made 57 arrests. The values of the drugs that were removed off the street are close to $750,000. There's 129 charges. Police recovered $76,000 in stolen property, and there was 117 cases cleared.
Now, with the success of these statistics, in what manner does Crime Stoppers receive these tips?
Well, of those tips, 37% of those tips received through the telephone. 45% we received the tips through our Catch Crook websites, and 6% of the tips received through the Crime Stoppers P3 mobile app.
Now, is there a more effective method of providing a tip to Crime Stoppers?
Well, whatever the tipster feels the most comfortable with is the best practice. However, through the website and the app, tipsters can include images, video, and dash cam footage as well.
Sounds good. Now, was there anything that stood out this year with the local Crime Stoppers program?
Well, we wouldn't be speaking of these statistics or Crime Stoppers if it wasn't for Greg McKellies. He was an Ontario-born founder of Crime Stoppers. He worked in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1976. And he was investigating a robbery, homicide that was unsolved. So what he did was he aired a reenactment on a local television station and promised anonymity to the callers. And they were able to solve that case. And he kept that going, and he solved 6 other robberies and also a sexual assault case as well. So he's a police officer that was way ahead of his time.
Some interesting history in crime stopping there. Thanks, Rick, and some interesting stats for 2025. And that's your Crime Stoppers report.
Okay. To the other big story of the day, the city of Windsor is looking to hold the line on property taxes heading into 2026. Mayor Drew Dilkens has tabled his budget with a promised 0% tax rate next year. CTV's Robert Lothian has some of the proposed changes affecting residents.
Citing an era of trade tensions and tighter spending, Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkens says there's a need for the city to show financial restraint in the next year.
I think it's fair to say there are many people in this community who are feeling the affordability crunch right now. And the one thing we can do as a city is make sure that we're doing all we can on our front to hold the line on taxes and on costs.
Holding the line in 2026 means a proposed 0% tax rate increase. Achieving that rate includes raising transit fees, enforcing fees at parking meters for an extra 2 hours each night, or more unusual changes like reducing the rate of grass cutting and vegetation maintenance on EC Row.
These are back-end changes that the public may not even notice. And so that's even better, from my perspective at the end of the day, that if we're operating more efficiently as an organization and the public doesn't even know what we've done except they see it shake out in the zero budget line.
At City Hall, job impacts are hidden by labor relations, keeping the changes behind doors for the times being. The city is also relying on a one-time increase in payments from services like the Windsor Airport and the Windsor-Detroit Borderlink Corporation. Notable spending includes a $6 million increase for Windsor Police and $1.5 million earmarked for a Sandpoint Beach splash pad.
This is important to have these green areas where people can get that relief. And splash pad seems to be one of the ways that the city is doing that.
Investments this year appear more scaled back while pushing a $317 million capital budget, largely focused on roads.
We have to make sure that we're ready for that growth. So Sandwich South, the hospital, the development on the other side of Cabana Road where you see Mint building a $300 million factory. The other items that we have in our pipeline, which we need to have roads in and land ready to be able to support.
Tabling the budget starts the 30-day clock to assess and amend the mayor's proposals. Public delegations are scheduled for January 12th. For dates, time, and locations, head to our website, ctvnewswindsor.ca. Robert Lothian, CTV News.
Here's our question of the day. Do you support a 0% municipal tax levy? Go to our website to cast your vote, ctvnewswindsor.ca. Earlier this week, we asked, have you spent more or less than $943 this holiday season? 44% say more, 44% say less than that amount, with about 12% reporting the same amount. Now, it's been a tumultuous year for the auto industry and many Canadians' wallets, to say the least. But a new survey suggests a lot of people are still considering buying a new car, and soon. CTV's Travis Fortnum unpacks the data for us.
Canadians appear to still be shopping for a new set of wheels, but according to a new national survey, that search isn't immune to the pressures of trade uncertainty. KPMG, a firm that advises the auto industry, suggests buyers are worried they could soon be priced out of the market. While 6 in 10 Canadians say they plan to buy a new vehicle in the next 5 years, most say there's a hard ceiling on what they'll spend. More than 60% say they won't spend more than $50,000. Nearly a quarter say their budget tops out under $30,000. And price is the top deciding factor, ranked number 1 by 80% of respondents. 3/4 say they're worried tariffs could make new vehicles unaffordable. Nearly 1 in 4 say they've already been priced out of the new vehicle market. And another 10 to 15% price increase could push more than a third of buyers out entirely. And trade tensions have more Canadians saying it matters where a vehicle is built. 72% say it's important their vehicle is assembled or built in Canada, with 23% saying it's very important and 49% saying it's somewhat important. And that shift appears to be changing how some automakers are perceived. Quote, trust in the Detroit 3 is starting to erode as Canadians see a lack of commitment to keep jobs in Canada, said Dave Power of KPMG in a release. And it's not just consumers who are feeling that uncertainty.
2025 was the year of questions that we didn't know that we needed to answer.
In a year-end interview with CTV News Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association President Flavio Volpe saying, right now, the uncertainty is being felt on the factory floor.
The people that work for us tell us that they're anxious. And they're anxious because of what the White House is saying and doing, but also because, we bet heavily on electrification and the Americans are moving away from it. And we have the Chinese waiting on our doorstep.
Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc will head to Washington in January to kick off talks with his American counterparts, though the formal CUSMA review begins in July. Travis Fortnum, CTV News.
Windsor Regional Hospital has a new president and CEO. Kristen Kennedy will join in April of next year. Kennedy currently holds that title at Erie Shores Healthcare. She's no stranger to Windsor Regional, however. In 2017-2018, she was the Director of Critical Care and Cardiology, and prior to that, Operations Manager for the Neurosciences Program. She also held management roles at VON, the Children's Hospital of Michigan, and Oakwood Hospital in Dearborn, Michigan. The Erie Shores Board says it plans to name an interim CEO later this winter, with Kennedy staying on to help ensure continuity and support the transitioning process. Thousands of young hockey players have collected donations, raising a little over $611,000 for the Hospice of Windsor and Essex County. Here's the Windsor Angry Bananas and Essex Orange going head-to-head in the U15 bracket. These players, along with around 2,000 others, hit the ice at the 29th Annual Hockey for Hospice 3-day tournament, which wrapped up today. 230 teams battled it out at 4 arenas across the county, including the Essex Sports Complex, the Libro Center in Amherstburg, the Vollmer Complex in LaSalle, and Tecumseh Arena. The event has raised more than $6.4 million in 29 years, with all donations staying right here in Windsor, Essex.
On behalf of everyone at Hospice, we are just so grateful for the support. This event is something that is near and dear to our hearts, but it's also near and dear to so many. There's so many individuals who played as a kid who are now reffing or coaching in the tournament, and after 29 years seeing the impact, we're just so grateful and honored to be the charity of choice.
The Christmas holidays have come and gone, and there was no shortage of generosity across the community. On Christmas Eve, 2 local children helped to brighten the holiday for kids in hospital. 9-year-old Megan Patrick and 11-year-old Lauren Meadows teamed up for the 4th annual Megan and Lauren's Pajama Extravaganza, collecting more than 1,000 pairs of new pajamas. In total, 1,025 pairs were donated by students and community members, nearly doubling last year's total. The pajamas were delivered to pediatric and neonatal units at hospitals across the region, as well as several Ronald McDonald houses. The initiative began after Megan spent Christmas Eve in hospital during her leukemia diagnosis in 2018 without a special pair of pajamas. And a number of community groups stepped up to make sure no one was left out. On Boxing Day, Justice for Migrant Workers partnered with the Windsor-Essex Caribbean Association to prepare more than 400 hot meals for migrant workers across the region. The dinners were made at the association's Central Avenue location with support from the OPSU Racialized Workers Caucus. A powerful journey through a local Black history is unfolding on foot across our region. A Philadelphia-based walking artist is retracing the winter escape routes of freedom seekers, traveling more than 120 kilometers through Windsor-Essex to honor those who fled slavery via the Underground Railroad. His walk is meant to recall the hardships of those journeys and the resilience of the people who made them in the dead of winter.
The goal of the walk is to look at the hardships of slavery and the joy of freedom, tracing the footsteps of freedom seekers who came this way during winter. A lot of freedom seekers struck out for freedom because they were afraid of being sold right after Christmas. This is your home?
This is my family home.
When he mentioned about doing this during the winter to symbolize our ancestors traveling, I was interested in joining him. I feel privileged. Our ancestors wouldn't have been able to pack a whole bunch of gear. The other thing that's very humbling, if I go to any church in Ontario, I'm going to find my family there and cousins, which I've found cousins already today.
Following this route to Sandwich, we'll continue from Amherstburg to Harrow, and we'll jump by car to Tilbury, and then continue the walk from Tilbury into North Buxton, Chatham, Kent, and finishing at the Josiah Henson Museum in Dresden, Ontario on January 3rd. One of the reasons why I don't walk mountain ranges and woods is because no one will see me. I want people to see me passing through their communities, because sometimes that's the only way they know that there was connection to history, to African Canadian history and the Underground Railroad and plight of those individuals and the communities where they settled, created churches and schools. I want people to see that and to be able to identify that as part of their everyone's history.
We want to hear from you. Do you have a comment or question, an idea for a great story? Text us at 10400. You can also send photos and video. New rules in cross-border travel. That's still ahead on Windsor's News Leader. 2025, a year of turmoil in trade. Later, a recap of Trump's tariffs. Start your day with the latest local news. By signing up for our newsletter, you'll get direct local content straight from CTV Windsor to your inbox, including top stories, the forecast, and videos. You can sign up at ctvnewswindsor.ca. If you plan on crossing the Windsor-Detroit Tunnel, the Ambassador Bridge, or soon-to-open Gordie Howe International Bridge, new rules are in effect which apply to all individuals traveling to and from the U.S. through air, land, and sea. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security began collecting biometric data from certain travelers entering the U.S. in 2004. But now there will be no more age-based exemptions. So children under the age of 14, including babies, adults over 79, and diplomats are now included. The DHS says these measures are necessary to address national security concerns such as terrorist threats, identity fraud, child trafficking, or foreigners who stay in the U.S. beyond legal authorization. Customs and Border Protection will also have the authority to collect fingerprints, voice prints, and even DNA. And the DHS says they can retain all of this personal data for up to 75 years. Some have raised concern about how long this data would be kept, along with the risks of breaches and misuse. 2025 began with threats of impeding global trade, with the U.S. president eventually unveiling a long list of countries to be hit by tariffs. That was just the beginning of a long trade dispute that has decimated some key Canadian industries. CTV's Michael Couture has a look at a year of complete turmoil in trade.
We don't need their cars, and we don't need the other products. We don't need their milk.
It was the opening salvo in the year-long trade war. Threatening to take Canada by economic force, President Donald Trump floated punishing tariffs on his first day in office.
We're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
They applied to all goods not covered by CUSMA. The day they took effect, Canada hit back.
Tonight, I am announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods.
Provinces also joined in the fight, removing American alcohol from liquor stores and threatening to cut off energy exports to the U.S.
The next Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney.
After campaigning on going elbows up in the face of Trump's tariffs, Prime Minister Mark Carney went to D.C. a week after the election, looking to reset the relationship. In that Oval Office meeting, the Prime Minister did push back on talk of Canada becoming the 51st state.
As you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale. And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale.
The two met again at the G7 in Kananaskis, where they reportedly set a 30-day timeline to get a deal done. But the pathway remained the problem.
I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And I think Mark has a more complex idea, but also very good.
Over the summer, Canada responded to Trump's complaint about the digital services tax by removing it. While talks continued, so did the threats and uncertainty for businesses.
You guys are about as dumb as a bag of hammers for doing this.
And when the company that makes Crown Royal whiskey moved work at a bottling plant from Ontario to the U.S., Premier Ford didn't hold back.
So this is what I think about Crown Royal. That's what they could do. And I think everyone else should do the same thing.
With trade talks slowing, another Oval Office meeting took place in October, where Trump spoke glowingly of Carney and Canada.
I would think he's more popular now. He's a good man. He does a great job, and he's a tough negotiator.
So then what's holding things up? If he's a great man and you want to do a deal with Canada, why aren't you?
Because I want to be a great man, too.
But that laughter would fade after Ontario released an anti-tariff ad in the U.S., using a speech by former President Ronald Reagan. Trump called it a hostile act, while his ambassador to Canada described it as election interference.
A foreign government running political ads in the United States during election season is unprecedented.
Carney would apologize to Trump at the APEC summit, and weeks later, the Prime Minister downplayed how much or little he communicates with Trump.
Who cares? I mean, it's a detail. It's a detail. I spoke to him. I'll speak to him again when it matters.
Those words got this response from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre.
All of us on this side of the House care about the communities that are being emptied out in our forestry, the steel workers in Hamilton who don't have jobs to pay their mortgages. We care.
Carney, Trump, and Sheinbaum had a 45-minute meeting after the FIFA World Cup draw. In the same week that Trump mused about letting CUSMA expire, he also agreed to keep working on the trade agreement.
Canada makes a lot of things that we don't need because we make them also. But we'll work it out.
The following week, Canada's envoy to D.C. announced she would be stepping down in the new year, saying it was time.
Our discussions with the United States with the CUSMA review, the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Trade Agreement review, that's going to start up in the new year. And I think it's important that we have someone in place that is going to be here through the conclusion of those discussions.
The formal joint review of CUSMA is scheduled for July 1st, 2026, setting up what could be another year of turmoil with our largest trading partner. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Lululemon's founder has launched a proxy fight days after the apparel maker announced the exit of their CEO. Founder Chip Wilson said in a statement that he has nominated 3 director candidates for Lululemon's board who will help redefine the company and its next chapter. Meanwhile, activist investor Elliott Management has built a stake of more than $1 billion in Lululemon and is pushing for the struggling retailer to name former Ralph Lauren executive Jane Nielsen as its next chief executive. Elliott attributes the company's recent struggles to increased competition. Lululemon has not responded to a request for comment. New data suggests coffee drinkers across the country may be spending more money to make a fresh cup of joe. The Statistics Canada data finds Canadian shoppers paid nearly 28% more for coffee at grocery stores in November compared to last year. Experts are linking the rising cost of coffee beans to things like climate change, crop diseases, and drought. Red arrows across the board in Toronto and New York to kick off the last trading week of the year. The TSX lost 103 points. The Dow was off almost 250. The Nasdaq dropped 118. The dollar was down slightly from Friday. Gold plunged almost $210 an ounce. Oil shot up at $134 a barrel.
WestJet has invented a policy that discriminates.
Coming up after the break, and weather outrage over WestJet's new weight restrictions for mobility aids.
Let's look at our CTV News weather snapshot thanks to Jonathan Brown. Do you have a weather image that we can use? Text it to us at 10400. We'll talk snow squalls and bitterly cold wind chill values and these strong winds next.
Discussion here at Windsor City Hall.
Windsor's top stories.
A major project is about to get underway.
Breaking news alerts.
Severe weather is a possibility.
And watch live.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Download the CTV News app.
Gary joins me again for an extended look at the weather. And Gary, these conditions dangerous.
Dangerous conditions. We had whiteout conditions momentarily in the downtown core here in the great city of Windsor. From Detroit into Windsor, due east towards Chatham-Kent, Rondeau Park, London, Kitchener-Waterloo, the 401 corridor has been inundated with the blustery conditions. Call it the entire southwest region, and then of course snow squalls coming off Lake Huron further north. By the way, technically our high today was 13.7. That came in just after midnight. It's gotten colder since, obviously. Air quality is not an issue. It's a windstorm day, plus the snow squalls. The highest recorded gust was 81 today, early this morning at the airport. We'll still be in the 60 to 70 range at least through 10 o'clock. It is cold. It feels a lot colder. So -3 to -4 feels like about -10 to -12 between Windsor, Essex, due east to Chatham-Kent. It's a bit colder in Chatham-Kent, Rondeau Park, and Erie. Across northern Ontario, very cold. -14 in Thunder Bay, feels like about -26. And here in the southern tier, we're as cold as it is today across the southern prairies. This massive spin of low pressure has certainly inundated the region with obviously very strong westerlies and northwesterlies, but it is the northwesterlies that have really ripped things up in terms of damages across the region. We've seen fallen trees. In addition to the snow, whiteout conditions have led to some fender benders, I'm sure, and there's still more snow in the forecast, a blanket of which across the Midwestern tier of southern Ontario, 5 to 10 centimeters north of London, just to give you an idea, towards Shelburne, Mount Force. And then we still have to contend with 1 to 3 centimeters, still windy, still gusty, with minus teens The wind chill factor, minus 15 to 16 through to 10 o'clock. That's what it will feel like. Take a look at our 7-day forecast, courtesy of Enercare. Tuesday, still windy, northwesterly sustained at 30, gusts to 50 to 60. Flurries in the morning. More flurries Wednesday, a high of -4, then -5. A bit of a break, but still cold. Thursday, Happy New Year. Friday, -2, followed by -2, -4 with flurries Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then -3 a week from now as 2026 is well underway. That is a look at a blustery, cold, frigid, snow squally day.
Some passengers living with a disability have been speaking out against WestJet and the weight restrictions it has placed on mobility aids. CTV's Alex Carpa spoke to travelers and found the impact they say the rules are having on their lives.
Travel has always been a big part of Charisse Griffin's life. She's flown countless times with WestJet before and never had any issues. That is, up until this year. The airline's weight restriction policy for power wheelchairs has made flying much more difficult.
A lot of hassle. It's been frustrating and angry.
WestJet has a cap of 300 pounds for mobility aids on the vast majority of its aircraft. Griffin says this limit is a barrier for many power wheelchair users.
Majority of power wheelchairs like mine, are over 300 pounds.
Former MP Stephen Fletcher says he was told by an airline agent last February that they would not be able to carry his wheelchair on a flight from Winnipeg to Toronto due to its weight.
WestJet has invented a policy that discriminates.
Fletcher filed a regulatory complaint with the Canadian Transportation Agency. In a documented response, the airline said accessibility regulations allow it to refuse transport of heavier mobility aids. The document also states that power wheelchairs would, quote, jeopardize aircraft airworthiness.
That is a very serious thing to say, because if it's true, then we have an international crisis.
We reached out to WestJet to get a better explanation of their decision, but have not received a response. For Griffin, the message to the airline is simple: change the rule.
All I'm looking for is equal access so that I can fly on the same carrier that you can.
Griffin says flying is already difficult enough for her in the situation she is in, but says this rule makes it far more stressful and uncomfortable. Alex Carpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
With the new year just a few days away, some very brave swimmers are planning to ring in 2026 with the polar plunge, and researchers are taking a closer look at the potential impacts of cold water exposure.
The biggest evidence really is for muscle improvement and athletic recovery after a hard workout. So if that's your goal, cold water exposure does seem to have evidence for it. There also is increasing interest on the impacts of cold water exposure on mood and insulin sensitivity. And that is still yet to be proven.
The research team at NIA Health examined the health effects of cold plunges. Their findings indicate cold exposure has a strong correlation with supporting athletic recovery. They are also advising anyone participating in a cold plunge to make sure they have the ability to warm up immediately afterwards.
Claire's death absolutely was preventable.
Later, caution as an increasing number of influencers and some online retailers share unsafe advice online. When it comes to infants and babies sleeping, new parents are often bombarded with information, especially on social media platforms. Advice shared by social media influencers, AI chatbots, and even retailers can confuse parents and put babies at risk. Here's CTV's Pat Foran.
Shayna Raphael's journey to become a sleep safety advocate began with a tragedy.
Claire's death absolutely was preventable.
Her daughter Claire died at daycare, sleeping on a soft mattress meant for adults.
Had she been in a safe sleep environment, had she been in the crib that we thought she was sleeping in, she would be here today.
Shayna set up a nonprofit in her daughter's name, the Claire Bear Foundation. She posts safety tips and answers questions on Instagram and TikTok. But not everyone on social media has safety as their top priority. Recent studies found more than 9 out of 10 infant sleep images shared on Instagram were unsafe based on long-established scientific safe sleep guidelines. This includes babies sleeping on their stomachs or with pillows, blankets, or stuffed animals.
Sometimes we have people giving information that is in direct contrast to what those specialists and experts are saying.
And Consumer Reports says it's not just influencers sharing unsafe sleep information. Some online retailers are sending mixed messages as well.
You might see a listing online for a baby lounger that says in the description, this is not safe for infant sleep. But next to that, you'll see a product photo with a sleeping baby in it. So which one of those is a sleep-deprived parent going to remember?
Another source of misinformation, AI chat programs sometimes recommend sleep solutions that have been linked to an increased risk of infant mortality.
Online tools like AI, search, and social media, they tend to give us the answers that we want to hear. And those might be different than what the evidence shows is actually safe.
Following safe sleep practices every night and for every nap can help keep your infant safe and prevent the risk of sleep-related deaths. Pat Foran, CTV News.
A new poll finds the federal Liberals and Conservatives in a virtual tie for voter support heading into the new year. According to the survey, which polled 1,000 Canadians, the Liberals gained 1% support, rising to 39% nationally. Support for the Conservatives is down 1% to 37% overall. Now, the 2-point gap falls within the margin of error, which is just over 3%, meaning the parties are in a statistical tie. Meanwhile, the federal NDP dropped by a single point to 11% support. Prime Minister Mark Carney has an approval rating of 56%. Canada tonight plays its third game at the World Junior Tournament. Again, that's tonight after opening with a pair of victories.
I watched the last couple games they played. They played good. It was a couple 5-on major. They scored some power play, but they're playing really well right now, a lot tighter. So it's gonna be a good game.
Canada is coming off a game where they needed overtime to beat Latvia, while the Danes are 0-2 so far in the tournament. They played 6 days ago in a pre-tournament game, which Canada won by a whopping 13-2 score. These two teams haven't met in a game that counts since 2018 when Canada won 14-0.
Together just a short period of time, so you hope you just keep getting better. You hope the first game or the second game is not your best game. So you want to build from there. Just play good defense, the offense will come, you know. It starts in your own end. The breakout, if you play well defensively in your own end, you get the breakout, and then you get down the ice and on good scoring plays. That's what you got to think about.
This is your CTV Windsor, our community calendar. Tired of another boring New Year's Eve on the couch? Join us for the ultimate New Year's Eve skate in the square from 6 till 9 p.m. See you next time on Our Community.
Amid concerns over a fragile ceasefire in Gaza, the U.S. president this afternoon held a high-stakes meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It took place at Mar-a-Lago in Florida and comes as a group of Canadian activists called for sanctions after they were denied entry into the West Bank 2 weeks ago, along with half a dozen MPs. For the latest on this, here's CTV's John Venevali-Rao.
Far from Donald Trump's meeting in Florida, in Gaza today, displaced Palestinians trying to survive a harsh winter offered mixed opinions about whether the meeting might amount to much. This man saying everyone's exhausted, cold, and urging the U.S. president to get his peace deal moving on to the next stage and eventually reconstruction.
Gaza's a tough place.
Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu speaking with reporters, saying Gaza was among 5 major subjects to be discussed. Trump said he hoped to move to phase 2 of the ceasefire plan quickly, but adding Hamas must disarm. He also suggested the U.S. would consider further military action against Iran if the country tries to rebuild its nuclear program.
Now I hear that Iran is trying to build up again, and if they are, we're going to have to knock them down. We'll knock them down. We'll knock the hell out of them, but hopefully that's not happening. I heard Iran wants to make a deal.
Meanwhile, in Ottawa, a group of activists held a press conference after they were stopped by Israel at this border crossing 2 weeks ago, trying to enter the occupied West Bank from Jordan. Along with 6 MPs, the group, sponsored by the nonprofit The Canadian Muslim Vote, planned to observe conditions there, but was denied entry for what the Israeli Defense Ministry said were security reasons.
This denial of access is not an isolated incident. It is a small sample of the systematic control and intimidation that Palestinians face every single day under occupation.
The group noting that Israel's security cabinet recently approved the recognition of 19 new settlements in the West Bank, which Canada considers illegal under international law, and calling for sanctions on items that come from them.
Any settlement product that's developed and sold should be barred from Canada.
As for whether that Canadian delegation will try to go back to the West Bank, today they said they'd like to, but aren't sure what will happen next. John Benavelli-Rouse, CTV News, Toronto.
The U.S. has announced its pledge for United Nations humanitarian aid, which data suggests is a fraction of the size it has seen in recent years. The U.S. is committing $2 billion as the Trump administration continues to cut foreign assistance. The cuts come as need has increased globally, with conflict areas like Gaza and Sudan experiencing famine. Critics say the aid cuts by Western nations have resulted in millions of people facing hunger, displacement, and disease. In previous years, aid funding has been as much as $17 billion, according to United Nations data. 13 people are dead and 98 others have been injured following a train derailment in Mexico. The interoceanic train, which connects the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico, went off the rails yesterday while going around a curve. Officials say 241 passengers and 9 crew members were on board at the time. The train line opened in 2023 as part of a push to boost rail travel in southern Mexico. The families of the victims of the Bondi Beach attack in Australia are calling for more action from the government. In an open letter to federal officials, the families are calling for an investigation into what they say is a rise in anti-Semitic and an investigation into potential security failures around the shooting. The attack earlier this month targeted a Hanukkah celebration on the popular beach. 15 people were killed and 40 others were injured. One of the suspected gunmen was killed by police while the other remains in custody.
Just, this for us, this is a godsend, having this safe haven.
Bucking the trend coming up, where the sheep roam free of predators. Yeah, those conditions, I was definitely concerned when I got in the car later on this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not good. Prefer the snow and blowing snow rather than freezing rain.
True.
Right? But still dangerous. You're absolutely right about that stuff. The conditions are cold, frigid, quite gusty still through tonight into tomorrow morning. We'll still see westerlies and northwesterlies sustained at around 30 kilometers per hour with gusts in the 50s and morning flurries, an additional centimeter or two not out of the question. More flurries on Wednesday, a high of -4. So -4 to tomorrow, as well as Wednesday, Thursday, a bit of a break for New Year's Day, -5, a mixture of sun and cloud, and then -2 to -1 between Friday and Monday of next week. Things will quiet down by, I think, Friday afternoon. The weekend is seasonal. Okay. The last couple of days have been quite a topsy-turvy ride, from rain to snow and blowing snow, of course.
Okay, thank you, Gary. A farmer in Newfoundland is working to pass on his labor of love to the next generation. He's responsible for a herd of sheep who live on their very own island. CTV's Garrett Berry has the story of the flock on the rock.
A house call like no other, as his father and grandfather did before Keith Morey boards this boat to care for his flock on Ship Island. Here, the sheep roam free from predators and free to graze on salty, windswept grass that Morey believes improves the animal's flavor when the lambs get to the plate.
Coyotes are so numerous now and they're getting bolder all the time. They're out in the middle of the day. It's just, you know, this for us, this is a godsend, having this safe haven.
It's a cooperative of sorts. A handful of farmers share this island near Torskov in Newfoundland and share the labor of upkeep. It takes all of them, and more besides, to herd the animals, to check them for worms and other illnesses. This tradition has changed a lot. Lambs used to be caught one by one, brought down to the boat by rope. Now, the biggest challenge is getting enough people to herd.
The sheep that come here year after year, and some are leaders, and they know the routine. Sometimes you come out, as soon as they see us coming up over the bank, they say, oh, especially in the fall of the year, they almost come running to the chute because they know it's time to go home.
Keith's nephew, Matt, and his son, Liam, are part of the next generation.
It was just the way of life, you know. So me committed to taking this over, you know, it's always been, it's in my blood, you know.
They say they're bucking the trend. They will keep this farming alive, even if fewer and fewer of their peers are interested. Garrett Berry, CTV News in Ship Island, Newfoundland and Labrador.
So interesting, so cute.
Yes, beautiful. I've been to Newfoundland a couple of times.
Yeah.
We have to explore our country. Great stories like that, of course. Geography, the people. This country is the best in the world. Do I need to remind everyone?
Agreed, agreed. On behalf of our dedicated team here at CTV News Windsor, thank you for watching.
For updates throughout the evening, go to ctvnewswindsor.ca. Lauren Stallone and I will be back with your only late local newscast at 11 tonight.
Good night.
Good night.